Hi everyone, it's Evangeline here at etrailer, and today we'll be taking a look at our Hollywood Rack Sport Rider SE bike rack here on our 2022 Volkswagen Taos. So the Sport Rider SE is definitely the rack you would get if you have your extra heavy electric bikes because of its great weight capacity. It has an 80-pound weight capacity per bike, so if you need something that can focus on stability and durability, this is what you would get. So we'll talk about the different specs and different features of this rack to see if it's going to be the right fit for you, your different bikes, and your Volkswagen Taos. The first thing we'll take a look at is the way it tilts away. So we have a pin and clip here, as well as some spring levers. So you're first going to want to take out that clip, and that will allow you to take out this pin. Then you pull on this lever, and then this should release the rack. So let's bring this down to a tilt. Why would you tilt your bike rack away? Well, that's if you want to access your hatch. So you can see here on our Taos, as we open this up, look at how much space we have between the door and the pedals, as well as over here on the handlebars. We have extra long handlebars, but we still have about an inch of clearance there. So with our door open, we can then grab our different items. So whether it's our waters, our helmets, our bags, we can grab them real quick. And then you just lift the rack up, and then that spring lever snaps into place. And then you can put that pin right back in just to make sure everything is nice and secured. This does have a hole that it goes out through on the other side. That may be kind of tricky lining up sometimes though. Alright, we'll leave that there because I want to focus on the other features of this rack. So we have, like I mentioned, an 80-pound weight capacity. When you do tilt it away, remember you're going to have to carry that weight capacity. What's holding this down is 1, 2, 3 different touch points. So we have our front and our rear wheel straps, and then we have our frame mount. So this frame mount actually is a hook that can lock. So when you have this secured on your bike, you can then lock it into place. If you have different types of frames though, notice how the hooks are shaped. If you have, let's say, some of your women's frames or your step-through bikes and you have difficulties with this reaching all the way down here, you may have to get a frame adapter bar. We are going to take our bike off, and to do so, we have this lever here. You're going to press on the wheel straps to disengage the strap. So once that's pressed, you can then pull the strap out of the way. Notice how long of a strap that is. That's because the maximum tire width you can carry with this rack is going to be up to 5 inches. So for your extra heavy electric bikes, perfectly fine. So press that lever, lift on the strap, and get that out of the way. Then we're going to go over here to our frame. Now, this can be tricky depending on your bike's frame as well as where you have everything set up, because it may be tricky to get some clearance here. So let's see how we do. I'm going to hold the bike with one hand as I release the hook with the other hand. Then I'm going to tilt this forward, or I guess backwards, depending on where you're looking. Notice that with the way our Taos is shaped, this makes it a lot easier for me to get clearance as I get our bike through, get those handlebars out of the way, and then just maneuver this around our bike rack and our vehicle. So when you get your extra heavy electric bikes, that may be an issue for you. So think about that as you carry up to 80 inches with this rack, 80 pounds with this rack. All right, so we're gonna take a look at some of our specs and some of our measurements on this bike rack with our bike off. First is gonna look at the hoops. So these move back and forth. It can be tricky with where the knob is, with maneuvering it around the other hoops on the rack. So when you bring this all the way out, you can carry a maximum wheelbase of up to 60 inches. Those are going to be your extra long bikes as well. Those straps go around that wheel, and then they secure into the other side right over there. Tighten it down. Now we do have these hooks. Talked about how they help things stabilize. Then you also have these nice rubber inserts or foam pads that help cushion your bike's frame and help prevent scratches and scuffs. Okay, we'll take some measurements here. When you are carrying around two bikes, you are adding a little bit of length to the back of your vehicle. So let's take some measurements to see exactly how much. Measuring from our bumper to the end of the rack, that sits at 26 inches. So that's a measurement to keep in mind when you're backing into your garage or trying to park into a really tight spot. Another measurement is going to be ground clearance. So at the end of the rack to the ground, it sits at 14 inches. Where the shank is to the ground, it sits at 7.5 inches. So you don't have much ground clearance on your Taos. Whenever you are carrying anything on your hitch, it's really nice to have a shank rise like this. That way when you go up those steep inclines, like those driveways or hills, when your front goes up and your back goes down, you're less likely for your bikes to hit the ground. Now, what we are going to do is we're going to move this into a more compact position too. That's because we want to see how this fits when it's portable. Now, before we do that, I want to take a quick look here. Can we open up our door? No, we cannot. We are going to have to bring our mast down if we want to open up our door. So we have this clip here. You have to line that up. That way you can move this down. There we go. And then secure it again with that pin you had just lined up. All right. There we go. And now we can open up our door with that in and down position, and then we can also fold the bike rack up. So this is going to have the same process as it was to tilt it away. Take out that clip, take out that pin, pull that spring lever. But this time, we're going to lift up on the rack into the folded position where it catches into place. Don't forget to put that pin back in just so it's not hanging around as you drive around. Taking some measurements here. Closest point is going to be from our bumper to the mast, 2¼ inches. Length now added to the back of our vehicle is going to be from the bumper to this stopper here, 10.5 inches. Big difference compared to when it was folded down. With it in this position, depending on where you have your hoops located, you may be able to open up that door. That's just what it's going to be like living with this bike rack behind your vehicle. Notice with this folded up like this, it doesn't take up much space. Your rear window is completely visible, your taillights are visible as well, your license plate and your backup camera is visible too. So it's definitely going to be a compact, almost see-through bike rack. The downsides of that though is going to be where it sits into our hitch. It does sit kind of low to the ground when it's further out. Let's talk about how this fits in there. So you have a 2-inch shank with this rack, fits into that 2-inch hitch receiver. We have a hitch pin and we have this lock. That lock is key to to the frame locks or frame mount locks that we had on the bike rack itself. When you have that lined up with a hitch pin in, you then turn this lever in order to pull that pin against the hitch receiver, which creates an anti-rattle experience. Let me demonstrate how that works as I shake the bike rack back and forth. Let's do this. Okay, so moving this up, down, left, right. I'm mainly moving the vehicle at this point because of the way that hitch pin works, which is very important when you are carrying up to 160 pounds worth of bikes. So my personal thoughts about the Sport Rider SE is definitely worth considering if you have bikes that weigh over 66 pounds, because you don't really have that many options when you get to those extra heavy electric bikes. A good thing with a Taos is because you have low ground clearance, you don't have to lift your bikes up that high. The downside is that frame mount is kind of tricky to use and maneuver around. If you're looking for something that's a little bit easier to use, definitely check out the Kuat NV. That has a front wheel mount and you're not moving your bike around as much. The downside to the Kuat NV is you don't have the same great weight capacity of 80 pounds per bike that the Hollywood Rack Sport Rider does. So hopefully this video helped you out with those different questions you may have about what you really need for you, your different types of bikes, and your vehicle. Right here, right now, this was a look at the Hollywood Rack's Sport Rider SE 2-bike platform rack for your extra heavy electric bikes right here on our 2022 Volkswagen Taos.